Today, we're talking about how much to charge your freelance video editing clients, what format to charge them in, and when to ask for payment from them. So let's get into it. Hourly rate versus day rate versus project rate. Which is the right way to do it? First of all, these are all equally valid ways to charge for payment for your services, but they all might be different depending on what kind of work you're doing. You can charge on an hourly basis, you can charge a flat rate by the project or maybe the video, or you can charge a flat rate for a whole day's worth of work. Could be 8 hours worth of work, could be 12 hours worth of work. So let's first get into the day rate. As a beginner, I think it's rare to have a day rate, but it's not entirely unheard of, depending on the space that you are working in. If you're in LA or New York or working on a bigger production, even if you are just an assistant, you may have a day rate. Okay, let's shift gears, talk about the project rate. That might be a really advantageous thing for you. If you are a beginner, or if you are a experienced professional, and I'll get into either one. A project rate could be beneficial for you if you are a beginner and you're worried about how long a project might take you. Maybe because you are just a slow editor, you're still learning. If you charge by a project rate rather than say an hourly rate, then the client will never see how many hours it took you to do that project. They'll just see the agreed upon project rate that they are paying you to do each video, hopefully by a certain deadline. The goal of a project rate is that you are not getting taken advantage of, essentially. If you charge $200 for a project rate, but it takes you 20 hours to complete that project, you're gonna be feeling a little bit taken advantage of. Versus if the project takes you 5 hours to do said project or less, and you can charge $200 for a project rate, you might be feeling pretty good about being able to charge that much, and that pretty much equates to how long the project took you, give or take. This is why it can be really good for more professional video editors, because more than likely you have a good idea of how long a project's going to take you. So you can, in your head, once you hear what the client is asking for, you can kind of say, okay, I'll charge this much for a project rate, knowing that that's going to fully cover all the work that is going to take you to do said project. Now, some clients do prefer this option simply because of all of this, because whether you are super experienced or super not experienced, they don't want to risk different numbers coming in all the time. They want to be able to say to you, hey, I'll pay you $100 per video. Can you do it or can you not do it? They don't want to fudge around with different numbers depending on how complicated each video is. So that's going to be up to you to make sure that that project rate is fully covering your needs. Okay, now with an hourly rate, there is essentially no limit to the amount that you could be charging the client. An hourly rate is definitely the most common form of payment that I've encountered in terms of general freelance work, especially the kind of work that I see on Upwork. Now, sometimes clients still do want you to estimate how long a project's going to take you so that they can get a sense of the budget, especially if it is a long-term client. They'll agree to pay you that hourly rate, but they want to make sure that it's going to work for them too. They want to make sure that they're not going to get taken advantage of if you are just clocking hours while not actually putting in the work. All of this is great. I prefer an hourly rate as much as it has hurt me in the past, because there is a con to having an hourly rate, and that's if you claim that you are a fast editor and you try and do work for a client very quickly, they're gonna, one, get used to that amount of speed that you put into that video, and two, they're gonna come to expect that for every video that you then give to them. If it took you 2 hours to edit that video, but really you probably could have stretched it for 4 hours, but you still only charged them for 2 because you only took you 2, that's great, but you're still only getting paid for that 2 hours. So it doesn't do much. If you wanna hype yourself up as a fast, efficient editor, you're better off charging a project rate that will cover you and give you a little bit of leeway there so that you are benefiting from your speed. I do wanna add another option here, that you could be a salary employee as a video editor, and so that is like another fourth option that you can charge by. It's just not so common, but considering that I am a freelance video editor and that's kind of what this channel is about, I didn't want to touch on that too much. Just know that it is out there and it is of course comparable. You can always figure out how your salary might get deduced down into an hourly rate, and then you can compare from there to see if it is a rate that works for you. If we haven't met yet, I'm Colleen, and in this channel, I help you to get a video editing job. I help you get paid doing what you love. So for more tips on that, for more tips on video editing and freelance, I'd so appreciate it if you can hit the like button below and hit subscribe if you haven't already. already, thank you so much. How much exactly? There are a lot of factors going into how much you should charge your client for video editing. For example, your location, your skill level, and your niche. I would highly recommend you doing some market research to determine what is average for your situation. You can look on Upwork and Fiverr. These are going to be a bit skewed in terms of the prices because Upwork and Fiverr are both bidding wars in a sense that people are pitching their services for as little as possible. And so it's not the greatest example of what to base your rate on, but you can go in and look at not necessarily the bidding part of it, but maybe on the job descriptions that have rates posted that clients are willing to pay. You could take a look at that and compare from there. You can also look at sites like Indeed and LinkedIn. These are pretty accurate, but more often than not, these kinds of jobs are more full-time or part-time, but maybe salary jobs. So you'll have to do a little bit of math to determine how that rate compares to what you would charge as an hourly or project or day rate. And then you can also look at some other freelance sites like People Per Hour, YouTube Jobs, Flex Jobs, and freelancer.com are just some of them. Take a look at the range of jobs on any of these sites, wherever you choose to look. Take a look at the ones that seem easy for you to do. How about the ones that seem harder for you to do? Do the lower paying jobs have less of a skill set than the higher paying jobs? Which of these jobs do you think that you qualify for? I know that in an industry like this, it can be very easy to be taken advantage of by clients and having it be kind of a client market where they set the prices and we are just groveling and taking anything that they will send our way, which then of course leads to the general devaluing of the video editing industry that we are facing right now. It is an absolutely real thing. But I also do think that this is a nuanced gray area. I think that you can feel confident in your rate while also knowing that it's competitive enough to where the client is not going to see that and then just turn up their nose at you. It's important to have a realistic grasp on what we are worth and also knowing the fact that what we are worth is competitive in the market that we are in. Okay, but how much exactly? Let's get into some numbers here because I know that that's what you actually came here for. Let's see what some other sites have to say about the average starting base rate for video editors. And we're gonna go all hourly here. The site Content Bee claims that editors in the US can have a starting rate of around $50 an hour. Upwork says that video editors can charge anywhere from $10 to $60 an hour. The site Spivo says rates average between $20 and $45 an hour for beginners. Backstage says the same, between $20 and $45. Markup claims a $20 to $50 average rate for beginners. And Indeed says the average hourly rate for video editors is $30 an hour. Again, depending on your niche, your location, and your skill set, this can range drastically. So once again, I encourage you to do a bit of market research to find the best recommended rate that is perfect for your situation. When to invoice. Personally, I was never too set on an invoicing process whenever I was first starting out. I was very client-minded, if you will. I was happy to work with the client to create an invoicing process that worked the best for them while also working for me. I have invoiced on particular days of the month that the client prefers. I've invoiced every 2 weeks. I've also invoiced after completing every project with said client. Now that I have things a bit simplified for me and I've been in it a little bit longer, I found that I prefer to invoice all of my clients on one day at the end of every month. So every 30 days, I am completing an invoice for said client. Invoicing at the end of every month is long enough to where it's manageable for your client, but short enough to where you are not doing a ton of work and not getting paid for it yet. And that's pretty much all I've got to say about that. So now that you've got a better sense of how to charge for your freelance video editing services, check out this video next to see my tips on how to actually get the client. Again, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much to my editor, Logan. Again, I am Colleen and I will catch you guys in the next video. Have the best one.